everyone. As you can see, it is Dave Johnson time.
Everyone.
Yeah, so we have Dave Johnson here, and welcome to my channel again. I am so grateful that you agree to do this. I love my monthly sessions with you. I could do this forever. I hope this lasts for a very long time. So,
I do
but
too.
let's go ahead and catch up. So, let's catch up. What's going on in your world, on your channel? What you been up to?
Gosh, lots of changing weather, among other things. That's the nature of where I live. Lots of, training, right? I'm learning how to do quantum healing. It's very interesting stuff. I would encourage everybody to take a look at quantum healing. There's also beyond quantum healing. So I'm studying kind of both a little bit at the same time. It's very fun work, but it's a full day. It's like a 3.5 hour session with a person. Maybe I'll just summarize quantum healing and saying basically it's you channeling. I just create a situation where my client can channel. I think that is really what's going on, and I'm much more interested in teaching and showing and having other people channel than doing it myself. The other thing is, I just really think that this is a wave of the future. I think that quantum healing has been shown to me, like a lot of problems just disappear. A huge help. Physical, psychological problems are greatly relieved by this. And I think it shows that there are ways that we can cure ourselves.
Well, that is interesting. Quantum healing. So, what exactly, if you were looking quantum, that means universal universe healing, right? Is that kind of what the thinking is? And so I'm kind of confused with quantum healing. So you teach them to tap into the universe for the healing that the universe offers. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly. So keep in mind, there's two things I'm doing. One is that I teach channeling, right? And when I teach channeling, maybe I should say, I really teach people how to connect to their guides in a safe way. So if you show up, you want to know what your guides have to say. I'm not just connecting you. I am showing you how you can connect on your own. And that's one aspect of the work that I'm very interested in. Quantum healing is a little bit different. In quantum healing, some people come in totally skeptical, some people come in totally neutral. Maybe they have 10, 15 questions about their life. Maybe they might have a question like, was that really a ghost that visited me when I was 10? Anything
Right.
at all. I'm having problems with my right shoulder. What's going on? All that stuff. And then through a really short, simple process, I would just get you to close your eyes and put you under hypnosis. A lot of people have an idea that hypnosis is this, like a zombie kind of thing. Hypnosis is kind of like, when you close your eyes and you listen to a video that kind of walks you through peaceful whatever. It's really about the client like kind of choosing to go with what they see. And I tell you put people on this cloud, you float back through time, they look at the ground and they know exactly where they are. They'll be like, I am in Spain and it's the 15th century and I am an herbalist, and they'll tell you, and it'll be amazing. People will come in quite skeptical and they'll right away be like, okay, it's the 15th century. You'll go and say, okay, boom, go to an important moment in your life, and they'll be in a particular place and they will be seeing some horrible event happen before their eyes, and they'll talk about how they're affected. When I was the subject, right, I've done it a bunch of times where I'm the subject. In one of them, I cried for 2 minutes straight.
Wow.
And I mean, bawled like a baby. So it's not a lot of people are like, well, maybe it's just your imagination. Maybe it's just your unconscious solving a problem. And what's wrong with that, right? Let's suppose it's my imagination. As long as I get up and I feel better, who cares? But what really convinces me that it's quite a deep, deep process is that people have these very emotional responses and they're very real. I mean, I wasn't just randomly crying. I don't cry that much. I was bawling. And by the time I finished, and as the facilitator, you're supposed to let them do that. Let them get it out.
That deep healing.
Yeah, it's really deep healing. And then afterwards, you'll go and you'll progress to the point where you're going kind of beyond the personality and you're sort of talking to a deeper, maybe a higher self. And you'll say, okay, subconscious, why did you show Sheila that particular lifetime? And you will be there and you'll say, well, and people will do the most amazing thing. They'll talk about themselves in the third person. So I won't ask, but you'll be lying there and you'll be like, well, Sheila needs to know this. And, we brought that to show Sheila to teach her how to be strong. And out of your own mouth, it's like your higher self just shows up. So it's similar to teaching people how to channel. It's very similar. But this one, it's quite different. And I tell you, I was not able to do this beforehand. Man, I have had a 15-year injury. It's gone, gone, right? Gone from my body. It doesn't work all the time for all people because, some people have varying degrees of belief. But this problem, gone. Knee problem, gone. I just hiked up a mountain. I haven't been able to do that in a decade. So
isn't that incredible? I truly believe in also feelings buried alive, never die. And once you get all the way into where that emotional pain literally is and get that released and get that through quantum healing, literally will the vessel that you're in will heal. I'm always 100%. And so you do that and you teach that and if somebody needs an appointment with you that they just email you for an appointment.
Well, here's the thing about quantum healing. I am not allowed to do it over the internet. So I have to find subjects here in Adelaide, which I am finding. It's great. And one by one, there is this thing called Beyond Quantum Healing, which does allow you to do it over the internet, but I'm not there yet. I haven't finished that. Gotcha. So in a month, I think you can email me and I can do the Beyond Quantum Healing. I cannot do quantum healing unless it's face-to-face, but Beyond Quantum Healing is similar and I could. Right now, I would love to teach you how to channel. I'd love to introduce you to your guides if available. If you're interested in that, again, very similar work and very useful work. People are amazed at the guides that they need.
Fantastic. And that information, of course, like underneath all your videos and stuff, they can get a hold of you with that.
Yeah, you just go to my website, you can find it. Yeah, it doesn't have quantum healing yet or Beyond Quantum Healing yet because I still have not finished my training.
Oh, and everybody has to remember, especially if you're in the United States, when you email him during the day, he's sleeping. So when he answers it or looks at it, it's going to be in the middle of your night. You know what I mean? So remember that there is a little bit of a lag, when he does get back with you. At first, when I was emailing you, I was doing the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, he's asleep.
It's true.
Yeah. Even brilliant minds need to sleep.
Yes. Especially this one.
And you're also a teacher, aren't you? Is that something we were talking about before? You are a yeah?
Yeah. I used to be a teacher. I used to teach English as a second language.
English, that's what it is, yeah.
I used to teach English as a second language, and I did that right up until I started making my videos.
Well, so my emails pretty much probably drive you incredibly insane. I write my emails as I think and talk.
I haven't noticed any. I haven't noticed any
errors. That's good.
Yeah.
Poor Cash Peters, he does.
And I'm not there looking at everybody's to check out the errors. I'm not an English teacher now.
You mean you're not going to give me an email back with circles and X's and
B minus? No, not that.
Thank goodness. I would accept it. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
I know you don't capitalize random words that you think are important, like a certain ex-president does. So I think it's good.
At least I don't have that habit, right?
No. How did he graduate? I don't get it. How did he graduate?
Well, money buys anything.
Money talks, yeah.
Money buys anything. So all right, my dear. Thank you for that. Good catching up. There's a lot of stuff out there. And you guys are actually going into summer now. We're going into winter and you guys are going into summer, which is interesting. Always interesting to me. I'm bundled up and I see Dave, he's got his, t-shirt on. He's
like, spring, yeah. The cold spring. You wouldn't think spring would be cold in Australia, but it can get quite cold, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, my dear. So we have quite a few. I think we have like
Okay.
43 questions. I don't know if all of them are questions, but I'm definitely going to go through them all. So if you want
Okay.
to take a deep breath, if there's anything you need to do to get connected, we can definitely.
Okay, I'm ready.
Patricia up next. It says, "Hi Sheila, I would love to know if Dave sees perhaps oil pipelines changing to water pipelines. I think it would be great to and help our flooding and wildfire. Great video today." Oh, I should talk about that.
Great. Thank you for the compliment.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, maybe we just that's a very specific question. Just see what happens with oil um, in general. So I see actually a huge increase in the use of oil. And I mean, like double or maybe double increase, maybe more in the use of oil. But then there's a quick drop off. I would say that within a few years, um, we will advance some technologies. I think it's a great idea to consider water. I think we should figure out, this is just me personally, desalinization and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
think that's super important. I know that there's a lot of problems with it, but hey, go to Lake Michigan. The water's rising like crazy. There's no salt. It's like, I know it probably isn't so simple as this, but could we not take some of that water and bring it to the places we need it, since they've got too much? I know that there's going to be cost of transportations, but
Well, if they're willing to put billions into an oil pipeline that goes
right,
across the country to dump
water.
out at the ocean for somebody else to use, why can't they do that for water?
Yeah, and a really great point. I would say on the waterfront, the West is going to be in some serious trouble. And I mean more than just California. The states near California are like even one, two, three states over look to me to be burning up. And they're just like literally like molten lava. They're getting hotter and hotter. And the people who live there are becoming more and more active. They're actually the good side of that is that the people who live in the Northwest are actually very energized in terms of like kind of being cutting edge revolutionary types to getting things done. It is actually changing the politics of maybe North and South Dakota, which we were just mentioning. It is changing the way people perceive their world. These guys are, this is a sort of bellwether. All of America could become this desert if we keep going in this direction. um, there will be a solution, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know if I see the pipelines actually going to water, but I think there's a potential for something useful for the pipelines for sure.
I agree.
All right. Let's see. Who do we have next? Will part of Eastern Oregon join Idaho? I don't know where that's coming from.
I think there's a political movement in Eastern Oregon. In East, they're really conservative. The West, they're more progressive on the coast. So I'm going to say no. It would be, there are people who desire it, and there are people who are willing to become quite aggressive about it. But there aren't enough people in that portion of Oregon who wish to join Idaho, aside from which Idaho's politics are also changing really rapidly. So by the time they do that, they might not be satisfied with Idaho either. So it's just big talk.
Okay. So, any more stimulus checks?
Biden looks disappointed. So, Mr. Biden, President Biden, are there going to be any more stimulus checks? He's saying no. Yeah, this is indeed like, I see Biden. It's not exactly like he's in a total conundrum and he's totally defeated. But Biden is doing some very serious analysis of what he should do. He's really trying to solve some intractable problems. And in a way, Biden is pretty good in that way. He is a long-term guy, right? Other people who we might like better would be like, we want action now. He is somebody who's like, no, take the long road, 6 months, a year and a half. Things do improve for Biden, though. I don't think I like read when I look at the news, and I am occasionally looking at the news again. People look at it and they say, oh my God, Biden's in so much trouble. Oh my God, look at his ratings and all that stuff. I wouldn't put too much, that is part of that is just the news trying to sell you something, trying to sell you a new crisis. I don't think it's that big a deal. In a sense of Biden, they try to highlight these things that are going wrong, inflation, et cetera, et cetera. None of those have any of the excitement, let's say, of attacking the Capitol, for example. So when people go and vote in a year and a half, they're not going to be thinking about small things. They're going to be thinking about big things. And one thing that's helping is the January 6th Commission. That is going to be far more important in the long run than other things. I mean, I'm not happy about inflation or anything, but Biden looks like he's gonna eventually figure this out. It has a lot to do with Joe Manchin. But if we're not getting our checks, we're not getting any more stimulus, you can thank Joe Manchin. That he is the one that's putting a kibosh on these things. So, people might try to blame Joe, but it's the other Joe we got to worry about. And things will work out better than they're working out now for Biden.
Absolutely. I truly believe that too. They're just trying so hard to just get us pulled away from Biden, and they can't do it. Okay. It says, my readers and the people I know have been suffering from vertigo. This is true. Linda G has been suffering from vertigo. There is Danny from Bathrobe Tarot has suffered from vertigo. I know that there was a few other, I just can't think of any names. And they were wondering, what is that? They think it's a spiritual aspect because Danny had vertigo, and one day after it was all through, he just kind of got this information download completed. And he was wondering, he's kind of wondering, we're also wondering, I have not had vertigo, but I have also experienced the downloads like crazy. It's almost like I've been doing something and all of a sudden I had to stand there and like stare in silence for quite a while until it's done, and then I move on. I mean, it could happen like in seconds, but we're kind of wondering, is this true? What's going on with that?
I get a big shift. One of the things Dolores Cannon, who started quantum healing, talked about is the new earth, right? And people are like, okay, is there really like physically a new earth, like a second, like a carbon copy? What happens to the old earth? All that stuff. I'm starting to feel like it's not a physical thing. The new earth is just on earth, a sort of consciousness is changing. And a lot of people, on my experience, are experiencing some version of vertigo. So the last month has been in my life just totally crazy, just like absolutely crazy. Like the craziest things have happened. So I kind of feel like that vertigo thing, for me happened a couple of months ago, where I had massive downloads. And I mean, like, I've never had this happen before, but I'm almost like passed out on the floor. That was insanely intense. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's just like stuff's happening. You're just like, I'm just gonna take a look at you, Sheila. Like, why is Sheila experiencing vertigo? We mean this.
Well, I didn't have vertigo, but I did experience downloads. But I was just letting you know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we say, why do my fellow readers? Why are they experiencing vertigo? That's a fair way to ask. Okay. So I see almost like a spring-like image from Danny's head, for example, like going to the universe. It's just, we're just getting these messages. The shift is happening. That's what I would say. Can you show me more about the vertigo? Yeah, our consciousness is really being affected by I'm going to call it energy that's happening on the planet. I imagine that many of the viewers right now are experiencing the same thing. Like, what's going on? It's information. That's one word that I get. It really is information. The vertigo feeling would be one of those things where I would, if you are one of those people that's starting to be affected by this, sit down and just write what's going on. You're getting information which is, hard to articulate. You can't, it's difficult to speak about it. Speak about your feelings or whatever comes to your mind, just let it come through in those experiences. Because it's supposed to be, it's ideal if you make it more conscious. What else? Is there anything else that's going on? I get the whole shift, that whole new earth type shift is happening.
Yeah, I do too.
Too
All right,
healthy,
here's some. Yeah.
Too healthy things, get sleep. Yeah.
Say that again.
Do healthy things, get lots of sleep. You're not crazy if things are changing rapidly for you. You're not crazy.
Yeah, there was one thing that I've learned while I'm doing this is to just allow it. There's the thing. I think vertigo is the resistance of the download, and that's what your body's like, no, 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 no. And we don't even know we're doing it. And so I have learned that when I'm starting to feel that, I just let it go. I just allow the situation to come through, and it's not making me as sick or dizzy. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
So get into more allowing of the universe to take on what the universe has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes a lot of difference.
Don't hesitate to check in with all your protections and stuff when you're doing that. I think it's all good stuff, but just so that you are safe and you feel safe, don't hesitate to bring in whatever spirits and guides protect you, or do a pyramid of protection and put it around yourself. That way, very important, I think, for you to feel safe.
Yes. And also what comes to mind when you were talking about that is that you are always allowed to ask spirit to slow it down a little.
Yeah.
Always talk to spirit. Always. I know that when I do my own remote viewing, sometimes the power of it comes so much into my body. I even have back off a little. Hang on. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like this great big old huge puppy that's excited to see you. She's willing to get the information, and they just kind of rush you sometimes and they forget, So you can always ask spirit to kind of back off a little and do it slower.
Keep in mind, this is a two-way street, just like any other communication.
Yes.
Spirit's learning how to communicate to you. Always my clients, when they meet their spirit guides, they'll always be like, Dave, you're not going to believe this, but he has the silliest name. What do you mean? Oh, his name is Bob. I can't believe it. And I'm like, no, really. Okay. They all have silly names because they want it to be kind of normal for you.
Yes.
And they want it to be like, oh my God, I'm channeling. They want it to be just almost like a normal conversation. And they often show up in sort of cliche kind of outfits to make us feel comfortable, right?
Yes, whatever we can absorb in the image.
Yeah. And they make mistakes too, in terms of, maybe being too loud, just as we make mistakes in communication. Yeah. It very much is a two-way street, and it should be somewhat equal. We're helping them to be embodied, right? Yes. And they're helping us to live our lives intuitively.
Yeah. And that's got to be the hardest job, to bust through some ego.
Yeah,
can you imagine all of the guides that go out to the bar at night, like, oh my gosh, you should have seen mine. Oh, I can't. I just can't. I don't know what to do with it anymore. You know what I mean? Can you imagine their conversations?
So sure that's true. I'm so sure that's true. Yeah, well, they also got to watch us make these really stupid mistakes and be like, well, he's got to learn on his own way. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, here we go again. Another bad choice. Well, that's free will.
Yeah. Like, I'm going back to bed. This one's too much for me today.
Did I really sign up for this?
Yeah. Oh, we could probably make a whole new movie about that. That'd be fun.
Uh, yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. So let's go into just Merrick Garland. What is the energy that you feel around him? What is he doing? There is a question here, but I think it's too directive for you. So I would like to go in and say, what do you see with Merrick Garland and how he's doing stuff?
So do not be fooled. When we're looking at Trump, he's doing all these dramatic things. He's making these crazy accusations. He's doing all that stuff, and that's his shtick, right? That's not Merrick Garland's shtick. Merrick Garland is supposed to be the voice of reason and calm. He's not supposed to be partisan. He doesn't want any of these legal pursuits to look partisan. Remember, the most important thing is, the centrists are the ones that are making the decisions about who's president. So that those centrists have to see somebody that's fair. He is smart. He is very much calculating things. And behind the scenes, he has a very complicated set of tracks that people are on. So imagine like a rainbow here. And you've got one guy coming in with information, facing prosecution, which will lead to another person. And then he's got another guy simultaneously coming in, bringing information, and then leading to, maybe prosecution, maybe he's a witness. He's got like 20 of these people coming through these pipelines, and he doesn't necessarily know who's going to say what. So when somebody says something, then he's got to make that a priority, and then he's got to shift, and then he's got to change. They've interviewed many people already. So while you'll go and you'll see Jim Jordan, or you'll see, Steve Bannon try to get out of their subpoena and void them, they have already talked to people who were standing next to Jim Jordan. They already know how many times he talked to the president. Liz Cheney was in the same room, so she knows, and you can pick up Jim Jordan's phone and you can look at it and you can see how many times he talked to the president. So this bringing them out in front of the camera and having them lie all the time, it's just to put them on the place where they're lying. So now Jim Jordan keeps going this, I don't know how many times I talked to the president. How could you not know that? You're like literally your life is on the line. People are attacking, windows being broken. Like, did I call the president then or not? He knows, of course. And if he didn't know, he could just scroll through his phone like everybody else and be like, oh yeah, it was 9:30, right?
Right.
So while we're seeing this extremely frustrating process, they have talked to tons of people and they already know when Jim Jordan talked to Trump. They already know what words that they overheard him say. So they're just setting a trap for him to come in and lie, which is why he's going to keep going, I don't know, I can't remember, I can't think of anything. Because then when they bring in that information, then he will have to respond. But he's doing a good thing. I mean, Garland is doing a good thing in the sense of creating a situation where they have to face the truth. This will be extremely important, especially Jim Jordan will be very important in the next year. I believe, and I have seen that Jim Jordan was part of the conspiracy to overturn the government. And I think that that's what he did now. I believe that Jim Jordan was the one with Trump who was going to organize it from the inside. They were going to change the vote for Biden and put in Trump on that spot. I truly believe that's what would happen. And he was Trump's man on the inside. So as we discover this, it will have political impact that I think nobody realizes. We got really cynical under Trump because we kept trying to get justice, but Barr would get in the way. Barr ain't there anymore. Garland is no fool, and he knows that he needs to get this done, most of it, before the next election, or the possibilities are that he won't be able to. It will make a big difference. It will be eye-opening.
I also get that with Garland too. He doesn't have to be theatrical.
He doesn't
have to be up front.
No.
He doesn't have to prove anybody to anything to anyone. And I think that is where people are getting really mixed up. Where is he?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
right.
He doesn't have to be out there.
There's
He
not
can
so
do
much.
his job perfectly and wonderfully and get in there and skew the cogs as he sees fit. And I think that's what we're missing is the lack of the theatrical of this AG.
Right,
And they're
right,
getting a little worried. But I also, every time I go into Merrick Garland, in fact, I just did a remote view. He came out with a bright light around him,
yeah,
huge bright light around him. And I'm like, that's important. That is a really important vision
right,
with this guy that he
right.
really is. It really is okay.
Hmm.
Stick with it. Have some faith. Don't believe the rumors, and go with your gut on this one. So
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. All right. So the next one is does eating vegan diets elevate your spiritual growth,
Ooh, good question.
or does it matter?
Hmm. In the future, people will start eating better. They will focus more on fruits and vegetables and these kinds of things. It's um, not really, I want to say, objectively wrong to eat meat, but consuming too much meat is really bad for you, especially in America because there's so many hormones. Let me tell you, I live in Australia. All the meats taste better. They just taste better, right? And I do eat meat, but I eat it relatively rarely. And that will become a trend that people will be eating less and less red meat. And part of that does have a spiritual component because we know that red meat is killing the planet, right? Too many cows are killing the planet, right? So, we could just have a salad for dinner. We really could, and it would be
Right.
perfect.
Well, I need to back you up with the cows and stuff because we don't want you don't want the cow lovers to come after you on that. But
Right. Well, I
you're
mean,
not saying
again,
you're not all the cows are not killing the planet. It's just the fact that how they've been treated is the problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of the problem. And also, just there are too many. I mean, look, there was a time when we lived in perfect balance. There were perfectly enough cows and enough trees that they just balanced each other out. So it's not the cows. I mean, cows contribute something, but they don't do what oil does, for example.
Yeah.
But this is one important thing. It is important to show respect for the animal kingdom. We might even think of the animal kingdom as working in some kind of, harmony with us. If we treat the animal kingdom better, we'll be happier people. This could mean for some people, and I think that it's an important choice that people make to, never eat meat again. You are doing that for good reasons, I think. For those who choose not to, well, that's a choice that we make in this lifetime. I would think that in other lifetimes I might be different. I do think it's very important for us to be mindful of how much meat we're eating, right? And be mindful also of our government, which allows this terrible hormones to go in these animals. It's just not normal. I can remember in California buying a piece of chicken, which was like this big. My partner from India, he's like, Dave, that's not normal. Chickens in India don't look like that. That's weird. And then we bit into it and it tastes like water.
Yeah.
It's like that it was on sale. It's
Right.
water.
Right.
It was just gross. I mean, it was just nothing. So
Do you think it's going to does it correlate high vibrating food consumption? Does it elevate your spiritual growth? Because there is a such thing as high vibrating food consumption.
I'm going to say that it helps, right? And this again doesn't mean like the only people who are going to be enlightened are the ones who are vegan. But I can tell you for my own part, I'm drinking half the milk I used to. I got that message from the universe. You got to stop. It's blocking your third eye. Stop drinking so much. So I'm down to 1 liter as opposed to two a week. I drink a lot of milk.
Well,
Um,
that's good information, right? So what we do is we tap into our body. And
uh,
our spiritual growth is literally asking our bodies what our bodies need versus what our like addiction to food wants. So
Right.
go ahead and talk
Right.
about that spiritual aspect where we ask spirit
Yeah.
to help you with your needs.
Uh-huh. Let's see. What about the body and our needs? If you really listen, spirit will tell you what to eat. The problem, of course, is getting yourself to not eat those things, right? Even though spirit has said no coffee today, I still snuck in half a cup, right? So I just like the problem is not spirit. The problem is listening and
This
getting
is true.
myself over the addiction, over the chocolate addiction. I mean, that's so. Let me just say, for me personally, I tapped into that. I know that I'm better during the week if I don't drink milk. I have been able to replace it with tea many weeks. This week wasn't so good. But it's really, I think, more important of our effort. First of all, we're listening to spirit and we're listening to our bodies and just changing things to think about the long term, right? That is, it's that effort, that dynamic, that attempt to do this. And don't try to, I mean, it doesn't work for me to be extreme. Like, I
No,
can't say,
yeah,
like,
we
I'm never having
balance.
sugar again. No. I'm like, okay, tonight's dessert, I'm going to make a smoothie. All right. Tonight's dessert, I'm going to have a mostly dark chocolate bar, right? You can't do nothing, right? I still drink coffee and milk over the weekend, and that kind of bleeds into Monday and Friday too. So it's
Right.
50-50. So don't go for extremes because it'll never ever work. And, it's the effort. So I think that we can look at vegans and say it is the effort to eat healthier. It's the effort to do the right thing for the animal kingdom. That's important. That's useful. It's a good thing to do. Um, I would say that don't do it righteously. If you're going to do that, understand that everybody's making a choice and don't do it as a point so that you can judge others. I don't think most vegans are doing that, but everybody's going to be different. Again, I do think that the best thing for you to do is kind of listen to your body, meditate, see if you can get some downloads about what you should not eat. Try not eating X and Y instead and see if you feel better. That is the spiritual growth. It is
Yes.
listening to yourself, it is listening to spirit and doing so without judgment of others. So
Yes.
for me, I should have less milk, but that's not Sheila's way. She can do it the way she wants. It's not my business. That feels pretty right. Again, you notice how people are drinking a lot more smoothies and liquid diets and things like that. This is going to become, I think, more popular in the future. They're just easier on your body, maybe. Um, you could do
I
really
think,
healthy things.
yeah, I think our bodies absorb nutrients a lot easier when it's broken down. Like we've already done most of the work. However,
Yeah,
there's also a caveat to that because in order for us to burn fuel in our bodies, we have to give it something to do. So if we're
right.
taking away most of the work for it, there's also it can go both ways. But I wanted to emphasize where you were talking about that. Is it, being vegan, does it give you spiritual growth? Yeah. If you are spiritually tapping into your body and your guides as to what your body needs, right? Not what
Hmm.
everybody else needs, but what your body needs. Like I have to have a certain amount of protein, meat protein. I could be 100% vegetarian. I really could. I wouldn't go as far as a vegan. I like, eggs and stuff like that. But I have a percentage, but I always make sure that my meat is ethically sourced. I want the animal to have one bad day. I don't want, and I really, really try very hard to keep that ethical in me, because I
Yeah,
am an empath. And if that animal was suffering in any sort of way before it died, I feel that. But
yeah,
that's just because that's how I do it. But I will not go out into the world and say, "Hey, being a vegetarian is the way to go. You guys are murderers."
yeah.
That's not spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is tapping into what you need and what it is right for
Mhm.
you. And I think that's a very important aspect of what you were talking about. Don't
And
terrorize somebody else for your spiritual growth and decisions in your food consumption.
well, it's a little bit like the abortion issue. right? Some people believe that this is a sanctity of life. I believe in reincarnation. So I totally believe that if a soul comes into a person's body, that might just be a couple of months. It might be
True.
a person who's going to live for an X amount of time. I truly believe that this is a broader purpose. I don't want to project my belief onto anyone. So the fact that I believe this means that I'm going to choose to do things with my body. And if I'm ever lucky enough to have a daughter, I will encourage her to do the same thing. But it's not my business what you do with your body. And it's not my business what your religious beliefs are. That is up to you, especially in the United States of America. We get to make these choices. So if your ethics lead you to be total vegan, that's great. I do think that the ethical treatment of animals, as you've mentioned, is a really important topic. And I do think that we should all consider that, whether we eat meat or not. I do feel so much better in Australia. And everybody tells me this, that they go to the United States and they're just like disgusted, even with naturopath medicines. They're like, this has like this much ginkgo. It's like 1% ginkgo in the ginkgo. And people have told me that our government, American government, just lets anything through. They'll just do anything.
A lot of time there is no governing. I can make a tincture at home and sell it, and I have no boundaries, no nothing. So
no limits. Yeah.
No limits, to whatever is in there. This is absolutely true. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So the elevate your spiritual growth, I think that is an individual conversation that you need to have with your body and your spirit guides. So let's leave it there. Yeah. It says, will the Dems find a way to pass the Biden infrastructure bill?
All depends on Joe Manchin.
Well, and cinema.
A little Christian cinema in there. Kristen cinema, sorry. God, they're really enjoying their power, huh? The two of them are just like, ha ha, a little bit. Now, we don't want to totally judge them. There are some concerns that are legitimate. Like, we don't want inflation. It is possible we start spending like crazy. That will make the inflation, worse. That is a concern. But there's so many other things that are really important that are getting taken out of the bill. I think that it will happen, but it will be much reduced. I'm getting like 1.7 billion. I know they were talking 1.5, and I know Biden just came out for 2. It'll be somewhere in the middle. And many of us will be disappointed. I am disappointed that all of a sudden the really, really important thing, which was police reform, all of those African-American people voted because they wanted police reform. And as usual, none of them are going to get what they desired out of this bill, which is just like the problem Democrats always have. It's just like they never, ever are able to deliver on their promises, because of just a couple of people. It's not Biden's fault necessarily. He's got to do what he can do. But it will pass. Is this infrastructure I'm thinking of? Yeah, it will pass under the watchful eye of Manchin and Sinema. But they will eventually pass it. Eventually. It won't have the environmental stuff that we want. And again, that's all Biden can do. But do not despair, because I think that the next election will go better for Democrats than we think now. And that will be the time when they can put through some much more progressive legislation.
I've always said that if they don't get it this time, they'll get it next time. Relax, everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult.
What you gotta do is get out there and vote.
Yeah, it's difficult. You can understand why people don't have much faith. It's difficult to have, after 4 years of not having any justice, it's difficult for us to believe that justice is really coming. People have lost their faith. I don't blame them.
I agree. Okay, so there's many opinions and thoughts and visions that a lot of people have about the afterlife, right? I don't know do you watch Cash Peters at all?
I have watched him, yeah, and he's.
Have you ever seen some of his Yeah, have you ever seen some of his transition pictures?
I haven't, no, right.
But he has this wonderful way of going into transition and how he sees it and how it goes in there and stuff like that. So the reason why I'm saying this is I want everybody to remember that each vision of the afterlife is kind of our vision. And you can go with anybody's vision, whatever you feel connected to. Remember that. So somebody here says, paint me a picture of the pearly gates, what it might look like. They say that family meets you there, but what if the extended birth family is a flat Earth, right? So rather than enlightened, so that what they're saying is, what if they're not there? What's going on? What really do you see if you let yourself go and you ask spirit to show you a picture of the afterlife? What does it look like for you?
Well, one thing that I would totally recommend for every person is when you imagine passing from this earth, who do you want to meet? Right? And think about that now. I'd really like that person to meet me because they will. You're just sending a message like, hey, could you, just like a text, hey, could you meet me over there? Everybody makes it to the other side, but some people take a little bit more time. So some people are, hung up on resentments. They're hung up on bitterness. Sometimes actually people are just kind of clinging because they're concerned. So they have maybe a child that they're concerned about. So they're sort of hanging around. Maybe they didn't even, maybe they needed to say something and they regret that they didn't. So they're trying to get the message. This happens and we could perceive this as a ghost existing for 500 years or something. And then the nature of the universe, that's 5 seconds of time. So there are some characters who don't make it, but that's because they get hung up. It's not necessarily like some people are going to pearly gates and some people are going someplace else. That is not true at all. Okay, we all get to the other side. And when we get to the other side, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for my choices. I did do those things wrong. But, I was born into a body with certain limitations and I did certain things. And to some degree, what I did in my life, the mistakes that I was supposed to make, were mistakes I was supposed to make. So there's a little bit less good and evil when you get to the other side. And I don't want to justify anybody's bad behavior, but there's a little bit more of, well, those were mistakes that I was supposed to make and learn from. So you might think of the most terrible person that you meet. When they get to the other side, I think they have a very much of a consciousness of what they did wrong. And believe me, when you get to the other side, you're going to be your harshest judge. You're going to be the one that goes, and you're going to go through everything. And it's actually those who you think are judging us who are a bit more sympathetic. And again, I get this out of quantum healing. They're a little bit more like, well, you didn't have any good choices, right? You could have done this maybe in the middle, but next time remember. It's a little bit like that, like good parents who like see you do something wrong. But when you get there, there really will be teams of people. There'll be so many people you can't believe it, because there are so many spirits out there that you actually do know. You've worked with them in other spaces and times, maybe another lifetime. Maybe, last lifetime you were a star or, a tree or something like that. Many people have shown up that way. And when you get there, you sort of have a total awareness of all of this. And it does seem very much like a happy place. They're what's very frustrating about being human is we're watching people who have, kind of low vibration, low consciousness, and they are creating a political situation that we have to deal with, right? It's not like that on the other side. There is no hiding from the truth, and everybody just kind of accepts it. Somebody's been, maybe a family member's been kind of mean to you in this lifetime. When you get to the other side, they'll be way, way, way at the back. Okay. The people who you love most and who will welcome you the most, they'll be there and you'll feel their energy. And when you feel ready to confront, that mean person, by the time you get there, you really will have more sympathy for them. You really will see, well, terrible things happen to them. This does not justify behaviors. but it does mean that you will understand people's behaviors better. And you'll go, well, okay, I understand why that person did that. And the sort of anger starts to dissipate. It will kind of go away for the most part, not completely. And then probably you'll get another lifetime where you again were that person and maybe get a better result. Maybe that enemy of yours is really teaching you a lot. But when you get to the other side, it's going to be really clear for you. And believe me, I can see it right now. It's a beautiful place. Just think of light, lots and lots of light. And there is no judgment on the other side. You will judge yourself, but they will not judge you. It's just a life that you are leading, right? And you will judge yourself, but all of us are going to be judging ourselves and looking at the stupid mistakes that we made, you know?
I always imagine, with my earthly brain, I always imagine going out there and going, and all your friends like, how was that? I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
that was tough, man.
Yeah. But I
Remind
think
me to critique, to eliminate this and this and this next time I go down
right,
there.
next time. Well, but you'll also be looking at and going, man, I had fun in that Ferris
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah,
Right? Wow, my best friend. Thank God I was embodied
yeah,
so I could have my first kiss. You
yeah.
will also be doing that. Well, okay, there were some benefits to this human life. Great ice cream. There will be that too.
Yeah, I wonder if we leave all of our earthly thoughts and egos here on this energy plane before we transfer over to it. That's always been a thought of mine. It's like I think before we go, we shed it. Like we're shedding like that was a human thought, that was a human action, that was a human. And then by the time we get up there, it's not like we're looking down at our forced boundaries of a human. We
Mhm.
actually get to say, okay, my spirit was enlightened here, my spirit needed a little help here. It's almost like going to the doctor after we're done, like, okay, this helped, that didn't, let's get to the better prescription here before we go back in.
That's a pretty accurate. That's the way I see it,
Yeah.
right? And if you want to
And
know, you can always ask.
yes,
I
go
always
to your
leave
own source.
anyone, and I don't care whether you're a channel or not, anyone could just go to a place and say, universe, can you let me know what's going to be like on the other side? And just pay
Yeah,
attention to the hints. Because people will walk up and say, this is heaven. People really will do that. If you have that question in your brain and you put it
yeah.
out to the universe, people will answer it. Universe will answer it. The TV will answer it.
Yes, that is an excellent point. With all that we do, all the information that is out there, we want to really hammer down the point. You can also tap into spirit and get the same information. There's
Yeah.
nothing, nobody or nothing out there says that there's a limitation to just us. It's you
Mhm.
also can do this. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just a little training, a little teaching, and a little, whatever, but you can also get there as well.
Mhm.
So just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so let's kind of move on. What do you see about climate change?
Mm. Right. Okay. It's really ironic that you're saying that because people are walking into my garden right now and stealing my flowers. It's quite ironic. And this happens all the time in Australia. It's very
How
odd.
dare they?
How much are you going to take? And I'm always here wondering, hey, should I go say something? And occasionally I have, but we'll just let them pick because I'm on show.
Enjoy those flowers, my dear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, gosh, how many are you going to take, lady?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just really ironic, you
You
know.
need the bouquet.
It really is the sort of thing where, gosh, they literally took a whole bouquet. Oh my God, she took a whole branch of my flowers. But this is really one of those things where it is very much Australia in the sense that they just take. I hate to say this about this. Most things in Australia are better, but there is a little bit of a just take it. It's very imperialistic, I have to say. So anyway, back to climate change. I can't help but notice that parallel. There is that just unconsciousness. just the unconscious, I can take it if I want to. I don't care who planted it, it's mine. That's a problem. It's a social problem. It's a problem that all of us have. And we're real busy. We don't have time to sit around and worry about every single thing. And is this sugar okay? But we're going to be confronted by this in our lifetimes. And in the next generation, it's going to be a serious crisis. So it will be a daily problem that we're just going to have to do. We can try to deny it all we want, but eventually we're just going to have to deal with it. It's going to be, my neighborhood's going to burn down again next week, or I'm going to get and go do something. So can you tell me more about climate change? Tell me more about the climate. Yeah, a drought is going to be a serious problem, but it'll be drought in some places, too rainy in others. The East Coast will have a lot of problems with flooding. This is not, this is all new, nothing's new here. We all know that. There are going to be some nations, however, and I mean like Bangladesh, that is going to flood and create a massive social crisis. So all of those people are going to have to go someplace. They're not going to go quietly. And where are we going to put all these people? We're already seeing great political changes, because of, for example, Syria. About the climate. The most important thing is, and it's funny, Sheila, I see you with like a sign, okay, is people being inspired to defend the planet. So just, the planet will survive, even if it's not us on this planet, even if we kill each other off. It'll go back to normal after a while. Hopefully that won't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But the most important thing is the personal changes, your changes in your consciousness as people become more and more active. I often think the 4 years of Trump was just a trial run. It was a trial to see, wow, here's this guy who lives in the untruth. Are we strong enough to confront the fake news? Are we strong enough? And we were. This is a perfect example of what's going to happen again and again and again, is people faced with falsehood who have no choice but to go and say the truth. I should say they do have a choice. They are choosing to say, no, I won't take it. I'm not going to do that. I care about this earth too much. So it's not all dire. The personal transformations of those people who are trying to save the earth, that's a very important portion of our human learning. And to come out that strong, that's going to be the most important thing that evolves. And people will eventually take action. Everyone will be so affected that we will have no choice.
Yeah, I think climate change is an accurate statement that our climate is going to change, and I think that the earth is going to survive, and the
Yeah,
climate change is always, the earth says, I will change to live. I'm not going to change to make you survive. And that is a
right.
different perspective of what we really are. Like as a human, right? I'm not going to change to die and let you live. I'm going to change so that I live. And
Uh-huh.
that's what the earth is doing, is taking back its own power and
Yeah.
and rearranging and changing enough to survive. So just keep
Mhm.
that in mind. We are guests on this earth.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. And how many material things are really making you happy? And I'm not going to say no material things are making you happy. I mean, they are. I
yes.
enjoy my stuff, but to what degree, if that was all burned, you'd still have the people you love,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and it's not like we have to be totally, monks or anything. But let's take a look at what really matters, because I find that people are clinging to physical valuable things because they lack love in their lives, right?
True. Well, that started that whole path. The more stuff you had, the more important and more wealth and more this and more that and more, all of a sudden, we were placed on a pedestal, which it's an invisible pedestal, but we were still placed on it.
Right, right. Hmm. Well, and imagine the social interactions that you and I would have had in medieval times. We wouldn't have had the internet. We would have been talking. We would have been friends. We would have been
Yeah,
talking with other people. We would have been working with other communities. We would have, everything would have involved, even music, community. That's what we're
absolutely.
missing. So all we've got are these material things to show off. It's not
Yes,
really the same.
I agree. All right, a political question.
Okay.
So, Senator Chuck Grassley, he's the ancient guy. I think he's like 88 years old.
Yes.
And Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa. Will they win their reelection? This is like a backwards question. Like they
Sure.
don't want them to win, but are they going to win? What's going to happen?
I see for Chuck Grassley, I see this strange thing when it's like a mountain and it crumbles, right? So I don't think he will be successful. I don't think that is he gonna live? Um, I'm not in the habit of telling people how long they will live, so I'm not going to say that now. But I'm not sure Chuck Grassley will succeed. Something will take place such that he doesn't make it. It might be medical, but it might just be a collapsing coalition. It might just be ill health. He might just not be feeling so great, and it might become obvious that he isn't feeling so great. So, in terms of the Democrats, Chuck Grassley's a great candidate, okay, because um, he's probably going to sink the party in that state. There's another person. Who is the other person?
Kim Reynolds.
Kim Reynolds, also Republican. Is it
I
governor?
want to, let me see.
Never heard of Kim Reynolds.
I kind of briefly, but let me Google it real quick. Kim Reynolds. Who are you? She's Iowa Governor Reynolds she's a Republican national yeah, she's definitely Republican.
She gives me like this kind of rude teenager attitude, just like the totally flip. Like, whatever, I don't care, whatever. That's what she's giving me. I mean, I don't think that's too positive for her. Um, but maybe it is. Maybe that's just like, yeah, I won again. So what? So tell me again, Reynolds, what are you going to do? I don't think it looks very bright for her.
Yeah, Grassley's the senator and she's the governor, the Iowa governor.
Yeah, I don't think it looks good for her. Whenever I look at her, she doesn't look super happy. She looks quite disappointed. I wonder if even she like might be replaced. Another candidate might replace her, or something's gonna really make her this kind of flip attitude person. Like, oh, I didn't really want it anyway, which makes me think that she will not win.
Interesting. I'm reading. I mean, she even shows that she took the speech at the Republican National Convention. Yeah, she looks like she even took a picture that she took the vaccine, but yet she's like this horrible person that doesn't want to make mandates. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Can you look to the other side and see if it might have a Democratic swing?
Uh-huh. So let's see who's competing against Chuck Grassley. I don't know who it is, but somebody bright has arrived. I'm not sure even anybody knows who it is. It's almost like a ghost-like figure. I mean, it feels positive, but it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost, sort of person. I'm not sure we know yet who that person is. I get a sense that it's a woman, and this is Chuck Grassley, right? Chuck Grassley. Who
Yeah.
will oppose Chuck Grassley? Who will go against Chuck Grassley? A woman with dark hair, She's very bubbly and friendly. She's much more optimistic. And I don't know if this is this a Democrat? This is the Democratic one. Yeah, okay. It does look like it's not the person replacing Chuck on the Republican side. This seems Democratic. Can you tell me more about her? I get an upset. People are pretty surprised that he loses. I'm going to say, yeah, at least in terms of Grassley. How about the governor? Well, the Republicans may hold on to the governor's mansion, but it'll be a problem. Like she'll almost lose if she doesn't lose, and it will be like she'll be under pressure. So again, is she gonna get a Democratic governor? No, I'm gonna say it will still be Republican, but she'll get a run for her money. It will be like an eye-opening campaign that shows a changing trend towards Democrats, and this Republican will have to be maybe work with Democrats a little bit more because I get a changing environment in Iowa.
Well, interesting enough, Abby Franken, her last name is horrible. Finkenauer.
Frankenauer, okay.
Yeah, something like that. And she is brown. She has brown hair. She is the 2022 projective Iowa Democratic candidates, and there's 3 of them, which is Dave, Abby, and Michael. So you're projecting maybe it's going to be Abby that's going to go against Grassley?
That's what I see now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more? Yeah. Definitely showing up a lady, okay, because I'm seeing fingernails, okay, painted fingernails, okay. Yeah. And there's something about those fingernails. There's something about like a younger, brighter woman. There's something about her just, he is the epitome of like a dinosaur. She is the epitome of life, of new ideas, of like freshness, of, and it's, it's actually one reason I think it's helpful that it's a woman because, women identify with a woman. So that's one thing that the Democrats are kind of focusing on is they're getting more women because, that's who Democrats are. They're largely women.
Yeah. All right. Very cool.
She looks good.
All right. So let's look to if people still want to know if Bill Barr is going to have repercussions of his conduct while he was in office. And I know that we've answered this many a times. We just really kind of don't think so. You know what I mean? But take a look again and see what you see.
Let's see. Bill Barr, will he face some consequences?
It's a frustrating issue, but
it is. Bill Barr, understand that he has already faced serious consequences. I think that Bill Barr, one of the most important things was that in his own psychology, he did change his mind. In his own psychology, he was ready to push for Trump to be the next president, but there was a limit. And actually, he did get to that limit. So, to his credit, he did a lot of things wrong, but when it came to being a full-on traitor, he didn't help Trump overturn the election, and he could have. So I think that's what's going to save him, is that he did many things wrong, but the ultimate wrong, he did not. As a matter of fact, he's a perfect witness for the prosecution. He has information about Trump. He has more information about Trump than anybody else. So I think that's what's really going to be bad for him is he's going to have to come testify against Trump. And that's going to ruin his social life. It will ruin any future chances of being anywhere politically. He is a pariah. People are not going to invite him to their party. If they do, they're going to be angry at him. He's psychologically, personally very difficult. Maybe that doesn't seem like punishment enough, and physically it isn't. The man should be in jail, but it is some punishment for him, and it will be more punishment to go through this and to be largely thrown into obscurity. Is he going to go to jail? He'll be threatened with jail, so that'll make him talk. So there is a threat there of jail, which is going to upset him.
Yeah, come tell us the truth, or we're going to start prosecution.
Yeah. And in a sense, look at the irony. He used to head the whole legal department of the United States of America, and now he's being subpoenaed. So, for us who've been through like tough lives, this might seem like really like, oh, really? He got a subpoena, big deal. But for somebody like him, who's lived in life total privilege, now he's going to be embarrassed, and he will be a social pariah.
Yeah. All right. So I know that I think I only had like 30 minutes left with you. Is that correct? Do we have how much time do we got?
Let's say maybe we could say 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to kind of get like a couple of minutes in here. Take a look at this so we can get through a few. Do you think robots can acquire a spirit?
No, I don't.
Okay. What do you think about the House and do you think a 45 has a chance of becoming Speaker of the House? And do you think in the election that we're going to lose anybody in the House and the Senate again? Are we going to lose any of that?
Let's see. Well, first question is Trump. Will Trump make it politically anywhere? No. Look, we're all overestimating Trump. Because of the last 4 years, he got away with so much. We're assuming that he's going to still get away with it. Trump is facing a cajillion lawsuits. Some of them are criminal. He really could go to jail. And I know nobody else thinks he's going to go to jail, but I think that he will. I think that he'll face jail time, and I think he'll be doing some things worse. Keep in mind, Trump is a huge benefit to the Democratic Party. Every time he opens his mouth, more votes move to the Democrats. So Absolutely. Yeah, he's got these crazy followers, but he is totally undermining the vote. He is undermining the Republican Party. He is undermining people that have been there for a long time, that know what they're doing. He's going to try to replace them with his acolytes. It's going to be a disaster for the Republicans. And
so what do you see the 2022 elections? Do you think that they have a chance of taking back the Senate or the House?
Let me see. It's going to be a real political zigzag, like in terms of polling, until we get to that election. So it's going to be really hard to predict. If we're just not using predictions, we're just going to, look at that. It's going to be like, we don't know where it's going. But I actually do get somewhat less Republicans than there are now. I know we're talking about the House. Yeah, the Republicans will lose votes in the House. They will not gain them. They think they're going to win because people are still playing an old political game. The political game of the 20th century is over. The way that things work, people are still trying to figure it out. They don't have any idea what's really going on. So, because the rules have changed. So they're all making a big mistake politically because they think things are going to turn out in a certain way. Well, people are aging, population's changing, and even that, everything's blown out of the water.
They thought that Trump was going to win too, so there's that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let's go on. Do you have a little bit more on that? I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say, it'll be a real zigzag, but I think the Dems will gain some seats. Maybe not a huge amount, but a significant amount of seats. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got to keep vigilant and get everybody out to vote. And, on our side, we just do not drop the ball on that. We just have to be there. We've already proven that votes count and voting matters. So we already proven that.
Absolutely.
All right. So Florida has had an influx of like QAnon people, F Biden flags, this, that, and the other. And people are starting to see a really big a presence there, and they're worried. Does Florida look like they're preparing for war?
God, preparing for war. Huh. Florida's a very fluctuating place. It's a place that changes and has a lot of just almost like energy in Florida. So I think some of the people are using that energy in a very good way. But some people are just sort of taking advantage of people's naivete. It's also a bunch of people in Florida. It's like sort of like, retired people who are not necessarily working. So they have a lot more time to go to these protests. And, that's a social thing as well. You find people, people are desperate for community. And that's why I think people go to these events, is they're desperate to find somebody that's going to, be their friend, call them up when they're sick, make them feel included. That's mostly what's going on. And because people are really, need community, they're very emotional. Can you show me more about Florida? But it's almost like a people who will like run to an event, then run to the next event, then run to the next event. It's social more than it is political. And because these people are just sort of chasing whims, they seem to not be very focused and not be very successful. There are people with guns, and that is another social event. How far are they willing to go? Not as far as they pretend, and what are you going to do in Florida? Like, how are you going to use these guns? DeSantis is already the governor there, right? So
Right.
what are you going to do with that? I do think there will be a lot of events around his next election. And that will be one where I do fear that there will be some threats of violence, if not violence. It might be that there is some violence. That will not help DeSantis. That will help the Dems.
Okay. So I think the same thing. It's like a dog is really vicious on a chain until it breaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all of a sudden I'm free. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was just kidding. I was
Maybe
just
not.
kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, you were vicious while you're tied up. Oh, I see. I see. All right. So here's one from Marie Hansen, who is always supporting my videos. So I just want to get it. Hi, Marie. She says, will Trump's lawsuit to stop the National Archive releasing his papers be dismissed or thrown out in November or whenever? Will it be thrown out? I guess is
And
not
this is
decision.
Trump's lawsuit to do what?
To stop. See, what he's doing is he's put a lawsuit against the January 6th Commission to stop all information and documents to getting to them from the White House.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to enact executive privilege or like something. He's really trying to stop everybody finding out his antics.
It's going to be, I get 10 days pretty soon before they're just like, no way.
Okay, good.
One thing about Trump is he's good on the media, but he doesn't know anything about the government or how it works.
No, it doesn't.
People remind people that this is all a grift. I don't think Trump even wants to be the president. It's a grift. It is one way to get more money and put it in his pocket.
This is
Why
true.
would he want to be president? Why would he want to be president? It's a terrible job.
Well, I honestly think that if he does run, it's going to be the best thing ever for because he will never be elected. You know what I mean? What do they think that there's the recruiting Republicans? I mean, you honestly think that all of your antics and what you're doing, you're gaining Republicans?
Yeah.
Come on.
He's alienating people. Yeah, and he will continue to do so.
Yeah, they're just he just needs their money to pay. He asked everybody to spend. Everybody send me $45 because I need to fight this lawsuit against the January 6th. Oh, whatever.
Good luck.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me try. I'm trying to go forward and get some really knowledge equipped. So Trump's aides reposted a rude statement he made about General Colin Powell. Will he be allowed back on Twitter? I don't think so.
I'm getting a no.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you let him back? There's nothing to be gained.
I think Twitter has literally washed their hands of him.
Yeah.
Unless a miracle happens and somebody takes over Twitter, I don't think he's going to. I think he's really truly been banned permanently. Okay, let's see. What does tarot readers and psychics continue to read on Trump and give him their energy? I feel like it destroys our energy and feeds his energy. I don't believe that at all. So, but that's a question. So they're wanting to know how we can go into that energy without it destroying us. So talk about that that discernment and that protection that we have.
Yeah,
that we
I'd love to talk to you about that, because that's a really good question. Like, if we're looking at Trump, are we bringing on the negative? I think that we could do this in a very protected way. And I think if we're looking at Trump in the right way, and by that I mean, rather than just go in for righteous protection, although we have reasons to be righteous in regard to this, also we want to go and say, how is our consciousness being elevated as we fight this very clear enemy? Right? How are we gaining more? If we think about World War II, how many people changed their minds about other races during World War II? We want to know for our own selves how that's good for the universe, like for our own selves. So if we're looking at Trump in ways that we might be elevated and understand and see ourselves and gain some action and create community, I think that's really good. But if we're looking at Trump's every move obsessively and it rules our world, maybe not so much, because there is more than, Trump will be gone one day. Okay. Humans will still be here.
Yes. I completely agree on that. So I guess the questions always comes up how I hover. I have this technique where I just hover. It's like I can see the man. We can intellectually know his behavior and get a lot of information out of that for one. That's just bottom line. But when we go in there energetically and we go and see what the scary parts are and stuff like that, I am not poisoned by them because I won't allow it. I am not engulfed by him because I won't allow it. I have an ability to look. It's almost like me looking at a painting and seeing all of its intricate parts and seeing how that worked, or getting an impression of why that stroke is there. But that painting does not rule me. It's the best way I can describe it. And so a lot of people, like, I see sometimes I hear readers say, oh, I did a whole bunch of personal readings and I'm just exhausted. And I was like, wow, because I get the opposite. It feeds my soul. It feeds what I do. And I think, I don't know what the difference is. I'm not giving away my energy. I am co-creating with somebody. Therefore, all of the energy and all the information they're getting is direct from spirit. I might be a conduit, but it's not depleting me, who I am. It doesn't deplete what I'm doing. My energy is not up for auction. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's important that you manage that. And I think that I, for example, could do a better job at managing that. I think I need to do a little bit of cleansing after my readings. But, we have a role in this universe, right? That is the most important thing that we need to know. We have a role, right? Even if we have the most horrible president in the world, we could still be a really good friend. There is this impact of the social things that I think we need to understand, and that's why we're talking about it. But there's also a point where we're like, I'm going camping, okay? I'm just going camping, right? I need to feed my soul. I need to be a human. Maybe I should talk to my neighbor instead of yell at them. There is like, that's the other portion. And when we go to the end of our lives, that second portion is going to be much more important. Maybe I didn't have 100% agency, but when I did have the chance to act, what did I do? And, you know, maybe I failed, but I acted, and who, you know, people make mistakes. I think that's more important, but it doesn't mean that we're not being affected by people around Trump's world. I would just try to see both at the same time. I am affected by this person, but he doesn't rule me.
Yeah. And I just have that. I can get in there and I can feel like it's like, ooh, this feels awful, right? But it's just like me putting my hand in warm water. I can take my hand out anytime I want
Right,
to, dry it
right.
off, and I can go on with my day. It's not
Mhm.
um you know, a long time ago, somebody told me a really great protection spell that the ancient gypsies used to have because back in the day, they used to use their powers, is what they called it, um, for spiting people and ruling them and power and, you know, for revenge. And so back in the day, they used to do it. It's called a mirror spell. And it's just really, really, it's a spell, prayer, whatever you want to talk about it. It really is. It's like just telling everybody nobody's allowed to read on me unless I give them permission. It's like a mirror. If you read on me without my permission, it's a mirror and you're only seeing and reflecting yourself. I also have permanent protection. I ask and I have a visual. I don't waver from that. There is not a time in my life where I take a breath on this earth that I am not protected. I 100% believe I don't have to re-ritualize it. It's almost like asking God again and again and again for protection. And he's like, girl, I gave that to you. You asked for it.
Mhm.
It's done. I don't remember you giving me a prayer saying to take it off. It hasn't been
Mhm.
taken off, right? So
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
that. I have permanent protection in everything
Mhm.
that I do in my spiritual life, as long as I keep my spiritual path on as best that I can. I mean,
Mhm.
I learn about rules by breaking them all. I get that, right?
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah,
But
right.
another spiritual teacher says you think that was a failure, and look what happened after you thought that that was a failure. The wonderful stuff that has come. So even judging a failure or a success is really out of my realm. It's like I have no idea
Right.
what just come out of that.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
spirit is always for us and never against us. And if I truly believe in that, then everything I do in my lifetime, um, you know, as long as I'm not causing harm to somebody else and keeping that side of the street clean, I think we're really doing well. That's
Mhm.
my spiel for the day.
Good. I love it. I
Anyway,
completely agree.
all right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and end this session. And thank you so much for everybody who has made
My
it this
pleasure.
far. And thank you, Dave, for being here. I truly enjoy this. And of course, when we get off of here, we're going to make another appointment. Get you
Look
on
at
that
that.
calendar.
Okay.
So,
And viewers
all
out
right.
there, say a little prayer for yourself. You know, it works. I truly believe if you ask universe for some love, they will bring it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And this is the one thing about with you, Dave, is you always circle it around. Like ask your guides. You know, ask your guys, ask for that in communication, and that's what I love about you as well, is that you always preach that communication part. Like talk to them.
Mm,
It's not a scary person up in the sky who can make your life miserable. This is
I
not
shoot.
it. Yeah,
No, not at
it's
all.
not it.
It's
And
not.
I also noticed your little Jesus picture on your in your
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, there's Mary and there's Jesus. Now, I hope everybody understands, like, this is new stuff for me. I came out
Yeah.
at this as a shaman. So these are not exclusive. They're totally new to me and have nothing to do with any church that I know about.
Yep. Well, you know, there's something about that too. Is I, of course, I was raised in a religious body, but I have literally pulled Jesus out of my religious teaching and asked exactly who this man was. And it was like that download. He was one of us. He was one of us. That's the reason why they were so afraid of him, is because
Mhm.
he taught the love and the light and all of that.
Absolutely.
And so
Mhm.
when I separate who this man really was, I love Jesus. right? That's my
Right.
guy. He's one of us. And
Mhm.
so that's what I have done also. And I
If you
can see that with you.
if you get a chance, read They Walked with Jesus. And it's Dolores Cannon who did the quantum healing, and people were talking about him. Totally different from what you've been told about Jesus,
Yes.
with how often he worked with women, how much healing he did, how he was a rebel, how he was, largely opposed to a lot of the religious people that around him. It's a great book by Dolores Cannon. It's quite
Yeah.
short.
Well, just like per usual, when we have men who want power, they will exploit anything in order to get that. And I think that's what they have done with Jesus.
I agree. Absolutely.
So, all right, not to offend anybody, if you have a religious belief system and you still go with that, please don't think that our thoughts and our conversation is a slight or taken away from the power that you have felt in your religious body. That is not
All
what the
religions, all religions have truth in them.
Yep. And there's a lot of people out there that are getting healing and protection with that too. So we acknowledge that as well. So,
Right.
all right. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Dave. And you
Thank
guys
you,
have
guys.
a wonderful, wonderful evening.